What are you training for? Life. The story that this person in their head.
It's not about being perfect.
So radically different than my story. Welcome to Train for Life, a podcast brought to you by ISI Elite Training. I'm Adam Rice, founder and CEO, and will be hosting this alongside Amanda Hall, our COO. Tune in weekly as we explore topics on personal and professional development to help you level up in all aspects of your life. We call this Training for Life. What's up, guys, and welcome back. Amanda and I are super excited to welcome our next guest to the Train for Life podcast, Stephen Williams. Stephen is a proud father of two beautiful children and inspiring. I'm just going to nix that word inspiring and say a motivational speaker, not inspiring, he already is, an author, serial entrepreneur, and the latest title is a fitness model.
Wow.
Yeah, his
yes.
new book, Emerge, was published in 2021 by Inspired Network Publishing Group, LLC, which is owned by Stephen himself. Stephen's fitness journey has been an incredible thrill, with Stephen losing over 85 pounds so far. He continues to motivate through his actions, which is actively sharing his workouts on his social media pages and sharing the good news really about fitness and inspiring people. So breaking down all barriers and crushing all obstacles, Stephen's life demonstrates being inspired into action.
Welcome, Stephen. I'm so excited to have you here today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. Thank you both.
Yes, I can't wait to dive into your story and allow people to hear it. So you're a member at Dilworth. So, and for those of you that don't know, Dilworth is our Charlotte location. You're a father, motivational speaker. So just tell us your story. Like, tell us your story. How did you grow up? Obviously, you've dealt with being overweight, right? So tell us a little bit about your story and how you found ISI, and just give us a rundown.
Well, a quick rundown. I grew up, my mom was a single parent, so sports was something that I played with in the neighborhood, basketball, baseball, sometimes kickball in school. I was overweight, and I would eat the snacks, all the things that a regular teenager or child would eat.
Yeah.
However, as I got older, fitness became less and less a part of my life. As I got older in my teenage years, I became to the partying and the hanging out and the eating the foods without fitness in my life. So then I began to really gain weight. And that's when you hear the terms morbid obese, when you go to the doctor and you start hearing, as you get in your 20s, pre-diabetes and things of that nature. Those are things that I didn't want to be a part of my life. So I would go on into my early 20s, and once again, fitness still wasn't a big part of my life. I would enter maybe a gym here and there, keep the membership for a month or so, never really show up like I was supposed to. I would fall back off the train again. So fitness for me this time around is definitely something that's new to this capacity, because this time around I've taken it seriously and I have not fallen off, and I enjoy it. Fast forward, I have children, a wife. There's so many changes that have taken place in my life since I've seriously began my fitness journey, even in my personal relationships. So there's a lot, but it's a major part of who I am today.
Where did you grow up?
Queens, New York, and Charlotte, North Carolina. So it's a mixture of both. Mostly Charlotte, but I love the South. I love the North. I love it all.
So when you talk about fitness, it became less and less, I think, as growing up and as a teenager. Did you play sports or anything like that, or was it more or less not playing sports or not really knowing, like, in that, and I have two teenage daughters, right? So, I kind of feel like you go through that phase where you're young, you're a kid, you're playing outside, and then there's kind of that transition in life, right? And depending on home life, depending on who you're around, what you know, what you don't know, do you feel like it was more from an active standpoint when you said, like, fitness became less of my life? Do you feel like it was just like you don't know what you don't know, or was it more like habits or what you had grown up around and seen?
Absolutely. You couldn't hit it more. You couldn't be more precise. Where I'm from, we think about Well, let me rephrase that. Let me start over again. The communities that I've lived in, we come from, sometimes those are considered underserved communities.
Right.
So you want to, money's the focal point, finances. You just come out the gate and you're just working and you're working and you're working and trying to make things happen, but you don't think about yourself. And fitness falls in that bunch, that categories. Well, some guys, they get out and will shoot basketball on the weekends here and there. But as far as every day making that a part of my routine, it did not exist. It was just survival. It was this or it was that, or it was buying clothing to compensate for the fact that I was getting overweight. And I think I found myself hiding behind maybe vehicle purchases, clothing, and just certain things. And we come up with all types of excuses not to work out, basically.
I'm curious. I want to dive in and really unpack your story, because I think there's different phases of your story that, you know, someone listening to this may resonate with. Like, we're sitting here, you're in the midst, right, of your fitness journey, and a journey that never ends. Like, let's be real, we're all on a journey. But you're in it. And when you first began, I heard you telling a story around Coach Laila. So Coach Laila is the owner of ISI Dilworth. And how did she, you know, you said you've been in and out and on the roller coaster. What was it that she did? Because she was at Orange Theory. You were a member at Orange Theory, right? That's where that relationship began.
Yes.
How did she impact your life so much that you drive, for people that don't know, from Lake Wiley to downtown Charlotte on a daily basis at 15 in the morning, mostly because of her, right? And how she's impacted your life. Tell us a little bit of story about just your guys' relationship.
Yes. I was going to Orange Theory Fitness. I signed up. Like I said, I was 365 pounds. I walk into those doors and everyone's, you know, for the most part, trim. And I'm like, okay, here it is. And I remember going in between the different blocks, the water row in particular, and you have to strap your foot into the strap. Well, I wasn't able to do it fast enough at times. And I would just watch people. Everyone was zooming around and going about. And Layla would actually take the time out to help me, you know, unstrap or strap so I can get going with everyone else. And there would be times I would get tired and she would come and stand on the rower and, you know, just that extra push, that extra motivation, come beside you and actually row. She was involved. It showed that she truly cared and wanted not only myself, but it's just her, you know, people to really win and be successful. That right there meant everything to me at that point. It really did. And I saw she genuinely cared. And from that point on, I'm like, Team Coach Laila, here it is, and I'm here.
And you followed her from, she's now a franchise owner at ISI, but you followed her from Orange Theory to ISI, and you know that's really where that relationship was curated. So
Adam, that was a no-brainer.
Yeah.
The moment Layla left,
yeah,
I was lost. I just knew I was going to fall off the bandwagon. I'm just going to be transparent.
Yeah.
When I asked her, where did you go? And she told me, I said, say no more. I was in the parking lot with her working out before the buildings even opened up. You know, so yes, there was a no-brainer for me. Awesome. And I'm glad I did it.
I've got one more question. I'll let Amanda run with it. But to me, I've been doing this for well over 10 years now, and really got my start in as a coach, right? And one thing I know is there's a breaking point. There's that threshold of pain that's like, I can't do this anymore, whether it's being overweight, not having energy, whatever it is. But do you remember or recall the breaking point that you were so overweight that you said, I got to do something about this?
I remember it like it was yesterday. I went into a mirror in my home downstairs in the foyer, the powder room we call them, right? I go into the powder room and I look in the mirror at myself. And I looked at myself in the eyes, in the face. And I said, I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. You know, I had just finished maybe eating dinner and dessert, and I had maybe a few beverages, but I was tired. I was just sick and tired of just being sick and tired. I'm sick and tired of when I go to the store, I can't go in and just buy what I want. I have to order it online. I'm tired because I'm coming up with excuses saying that the vehicles are being made smaller when in essence they're not being made smaller. That's just me using a defense mechanism to make an excuse for my inability to be disciplined with my fitness and self-care. So I remember that moment. It was an evening, and I stood at myself, and I looked in the mirror, and I said, no, I've got to do something different. It stops.
Wow. What would you say, I think we all think the weight loss journey is, and I think a lot of people find that pain point, and sometimes it is weight related, but we all know like the journey. I mean, your story, and I don't know if anybody's seen the video that we have on our Instagram, and it's been on LinkedIn. Like we share it, and I don't know if you know this, but our Discovery Days, we share a video of you. I mean, and our team is it's highly emotional and it touches me because I hear what started as I'm tired of this, I have to do something different, and maybe from a weight loss journey for you, you really talk about in that too, being a dad, but like also those changes that have come from it. Like talk about that, because I think sometimes there's so much more on the other side, if that courage to come in the door. But what are those changes that you feel like you've had in your life beyond weight that maybe you wouldn't have thought would have come from working out at ISI Elite Training, but just taking that step?
Well, I left something extremely important out. I have lupus.
Wow.
That's one major factor for me. I also had a doctor tell me that I was facing like pre-diabetes, right? So those were also factors that were on the horizon, as well as my children. Like I want to play with my kids. I want to run up and down the street and not get tired. I want to go on vacation and not be too tired to bend over and play in the sand with my little girl and my son and run up and down the street, just play basketball, volunteering as a coach on the basketball. All those things that may seem not to be huge factor, those are huge. So all of those things play a significant role in my weight loss journey. My life has changed because I'm able to participate on a level that I wasn't able to participate before. And just recently, last Tuesday, I'm running up and down the court with my son's basketball team as the assistant coach. And I'm shuffling side to side. These are movements that we do in ISI. And I'm feeling great because I'm not winded. And I'm keeping up with the little kids running up and down the court. And
such a great feeling.
It's awesome. So it's impacted my life in so many ways. It's awesome.
You say it was interesting. I was laying in bed last night, and obviously the headlines right now are insane, right? Like you've got the disaster of the school shootings and all of that happening, and I started to look, and I'm like, man, like I know that heart disease is the number one killer, and to take absolutely nothing away from the travesty of what's happened and is happening, there's over 2,000 people a day that die from heart disease, most under the age of 65. And so, less of a question, but more of a statement of like, man, like that was you, like that you were on that path as so many others are. And I'm curious to know, like, it's one thing to get the results you've gotten, but how important has community been in sustaining the results and the relationships that you've built? So, when you do have those tendencies to fall off track, you have community to lean on.
It's been an integral part of my journey, especially here in ISI. When you walk through those doors and you see people that you work out with, you almost feel like you're obligated to show up. You feel like you're obligated to perform, even though your performance isn't based on another individual's performance. You just feel like you're part of a team. You just feel like you're part of a greater good, like you all are striving for the same point, results, whatever words you want to put in there. Some mornings you just don't feel like it. Some mornings 5 o'clock comes way too early. But see, I know if I just show up, I know that Carson's going to come over and pat me. I know that Kathy's going to say, keep it going. I know Julia's going to say, way to go. I know Coach Brandon is going to be like, come on, get up now. And we're all cheering each other on all the time. And I believe that community plays, it's everything. It's everything. Because there's times where community is all you have. So I'll leave it there.
Yeah, and you also know if you don't show up, they're going to be like, Steven, where are you at? Where have you been? That's my favorite one. I haven't seen you in a while. Where are you? Is everything okay? Talk a little bit about how you your book, right? So what was your motivation behind writing that book, and tell everybody a little bit about that.
Wow. Emerge, Revelations of an Entrepreneur is the title of my book. The motivation behind the book really began, it came around the time when the pandemic first hit. We had social injustices going on. We had injustice. We had the pandemic. People were losing jobs, and it seemed like people were frantic. And I remember sitting at a table watching a man get drugged by an 18-wheeler on Facebook.
Wow.
They were looting. They were robbing his truck, and the person that was stealing got drugged, and he died. And I said, if anyone right now has any one thing to put out in the world positive, now is the time. I didn't know how to make a video. I didn't know how to do anything, okay? I really didn't. And so that began the beginning of Emerge. I began to jot ideas and notes, things that were in my mind, anything positive that I've experienced, even my hardships. I share my hardships and setbacks, all types of things, because right now, especially, is a time where we need to all band together. And that's one thing we do here at ISI. We band together. And I wanted to just put out a piece of work that could give something to anyone in society, one person.
It's amazing. Where can people find that if they wanted to dive into it? Absolutely.
Emerge is on Amazon, the ebook version. The print copy was on my website, inspiredbysteven.com, but it's no longer a link available, so you can just get it off Amazon or Barnes & Noble's ebook. I'm in the studio right now working on the audio book version, which is actually fun, and that'll be available soon on Amazon as well. But
that's awesome. So talk to me about how important not only is, there needs really transformation happens when you can tell the truth. Right?
Yes.
Like there comes a point, like you said, I was making excuses, and transformation happens when you can really tell yourself the truth, drop excuses. And so there was that point where you told the truth. And when it comes down to that, how important is it to have support outside of, like, you've got the community at ISI, right? But that's 1 hour out of your day. And granted, you're developing relationships there that exceed the four walls. But how important is it to have, community at home and like-minded people that are driving you outside of that? And then how has your fitness journey not impacted you as a father, because you've already dove into that, but impacted the change in your kids? And do they have a different relationship with fitness now?
Wow, that's a huge question.
Yeah.
For starters, the support for me, like I said, Layla plays such a huge role in my journey, because when I would leave, whether it was the four walls that we work out in, and you go home, what's waiting for you at home? Because for me, the most part was eating. Mm-hmm. So is it a pound cake waiting for me at home? Is it lasagna, baked macaroni and cheese? Is it fried chicken? What's waiting for me at home?
Yeah.
Is it the soda? Is it the juice? Is it all the things that existed to help aid and get me to the point where I'm at today? You definitely need someone at home. You need community at home. You need a system at home in place to help you be successful, because it'll prolong. That's what happened to me initially in my journey. It prolonged me getting the transformation that I'm going after, solely because my eating was off.
Yeah.
And it's hard to go home when you smell some big lasagna after, a nice workout.
Yeah.
And then we all say cheat days. We use that. But what happens when Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, every day becomes a cheat day? It's no longer a cheat day. You're not being effective at that point. So community at home is, if not more, equally important than the community in your ISI family, your Fit fam. And that's one thing I can attest to. The support and community that we have here at ISI has really carried over into my personal life. It's carried over. It's in my conversation throughout my day. My kids, they're ISI also. They're part of it. They love to work out. They love to exercise. They get mad at me, Daddy, I want to exercise too. And
I love that.
They're just a part of it.
They're big cheerleaders of you, because when they've come into ISI, they're so excited to watch you work out, which I love.
Well, thank you so much. And it's a pleasure to have them be a part of this journey, because they can adopt healthy habits and have a healthier lifestyle as well. They're becoming conscious, of course, in a great way. Dad, you can't eat this, or we can't eat that. And so, look, this community has impacted my family, myself, in so many different ways and so many different dynamics that I'd be sitting here all day telling you about it, but in a positive way.
I think what you've done for yourself, I think just coming through the door, starting your journey, changing your habits, but what that does to transcend into your children. Just even as a mother, Adam has kids too, as a father, the example that you're leading them and what they see, I think is so powerful. I always think through that, what do my kids see in me, and those habits and I love what you said about, what am I coming home to? And then you have to create that. Sometimes someone's not going to be there to cheer you on, right? Let's just be real. Not everybody has that support system at home. And so you have to create an environment that is for you and your goals, from the food you have in your fridge to, what you listen to every day. And, I know that you just talked a lot about that, and that's part of being really intentional, but what do you think are some of the practical things, if you were, kind of diving underneath that, to other people that they may take away? If somebody's in this bucket and they're like, yep, okay, I've started my fitness journey, I'm not seeing, what the results I want. And you talked about kind of that fitness side was going, but you weren't seeing the results because of the nutritional element. What are some practical habits that maybe you did at home that helped you kind of start to see that result?
You said something a second ago. You said, let's be real. And that's the only way I know how to be is real. And I'm going to give it to you
yes,
real, okay?
Give it real.
Stop the drinks, the alcoholic beverages. That was the number one. I lost the majority of my weight when I stopped drinking alcohol. I stopped for about a year and 6 months or so. That's when I dropped the most majority of my weight. And for me, that was detrimental. I'm 365 pounds. I don't need it. I don't need it. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say after a long day, it's not okay to do whatever you want to do. But for me, I stopped. And it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy, trust me. But it was a choice. And the cakes follow. Maybe every time I go to my favorite restaurant, I can't get the key lime pie that I love. Maybe it's every other time. And over time, you're putting in so much effort in the gym, and you see your body changing. You don't even want to indulge like you used to indulge anymore. You see your pant size going down. And I'm going to go ahead and, the full disclosure, I guess, here. I haven't done it on my social media yet, but I have a pair of pants in my closet that are a size 54. I've got a pair of pants that my brother actually bought for me about 2 months ago that are size 44.
Wow.
Awesome.
Now, that's a huge difference.
Yep.
So the little things that we think we need, the comfort foods, we don't really need them. If you're at a point like I was and you were sick and tired of being sick and tired.
When it comes to alcohol, because that's an interesting one, I think a lot of it. So actually tell us, what was your drinking habits?
That's a major one.
Yeah. So what were you having, 1 or 2 a day? Was it more? What were you drinking? Like, let's dive into that.
No way it wasn't 1 or 2 a day. Maybe 1 or 2. No, okay, all right. I'm not going to say that. It was more like a bottle. You know those little pints of Patron? I love Patron. I'm a tequila guy.
Yeah.
So I would get the little pints of Patron. Sometimes I go back to the store for the second bottle.
Wow.
My guy would have a smile on his face every time he see me pull up. You know, there's a little boutique there for a meal, and I would go and I would indulge. Some weeks it would be 3 bottles, little bottles, and it's so social, right? Because you're with the neighbors, you're outside, and everyone's talking and laughing, and they're passing the wine around, and everyone has a new beer for you to try. Before you know it, how many calories did you just consume?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it was
and then
a
it numbs
social
it.
thing.
You know, the alcohol then numbs your. I mean, in some ways, it numbs your judgment. I find if I have a couple drinks, I eat a lot more.
Yep.
You know, I'm not as aware of what my goals are, or I'm more apt to compromise them.
Absolutely. And in the beginning for me, it was the fact that, oh, I'm going to work out tomorrow, so I'll burn it off. Well, that became too often, too much. I can't do that every day. Some people say, well, do you work? Yeah, I work, but it was social hour was a bigger part, you know, of my life at a certain point, with the kids being outside, the neighbors and things like that. But stuff like that, you just have to really monitor what you take in.
Yeah, I think because it is, like Amanda hit on the head, it's the byproduct of alcohol oftentimes is far worse than the alcohol itself, because of it's, again, you said it, it's a choice, right? So those people out there that are having, you know, 3 to 4 drinks, maybe it's only Friday, Saturday, Sunday that they're doing it, but the byproduct of what happens, somebody told me one time, and it's always stuck with me, is calories. Not to say you have to count calories, but calories are like money. And at the end of the day, we know that 3,500 calories equals 1 pound. And so you could be Monday through Friday, which I think a lot of us are in that boat. Your bank account's right? Like your calorie count's right. You're being modest. You're really understanding and having awareness. But when it comes down to the weekend or the social atmosphere, you then are tripling your bank account in a negative way. And so all the work that you're doing Monday through Friday, you're depleting it and ruining it. And I think from that standpoint, it's being conscious, but also telling the freaking truth and having that awareness. Like, to me, that's everything. And, you know, I got a slow metabolism. I got all of these things. Well, the reality is, like, we all have everything. And so you really have to dial in and say, what choices am I choosing today? And that's in health, fitness, your faith, business, right? It's choice based. God gives us that ability to make a choice. And that's the most beautiful thing about life, right? Is like you get to choose. And I think fitness to me is one of the most controllables, right? It's literally a numbers game. It's what you put in versus what you put out. And so, you know, I hope someone listening will take your story and really, like, fully embrace that to start your journey, you had to tell the truth. But the ripple effect of what has happened from that, it's generational. You don't see it right now, but it's generational change. You're changing your kids' lives, which is crazy, you know? So it's amazing. So.
You're absolutely right.
All right, we're going to wrap it up and ask you a couple questions so everybody gets to know a little bit more about Steven. You ready?
I am ready
All
to
right.
go.
No pressure.
Okay, what would you say is do you have a favorite quote?
You know, that's fairly easy, I'm going to be honest. The guy who wrote the foreword to my book, Les Brown, you got to be hungry. Well, I have to say it with a little bit more. You got to be hungry, right? You just,
Yes.
you know, and you have to be hungry, even for this.
Yeah.
Yes, I love that. Favorite book?
Wow. W. Clement Stone is the author, and it's The Success System That Never Fails. I love that book.
Awesome. Okay, if you could tell your older self today, or I guess if you could have told your younger self something that your older self has learned or knows today, what would that have been?
Get in the gym.
I love it.